Bacon's Rebellion by Lisa Featherly. The trouble began in July 1675 with the raid by the Diogue Indians on the plantation of Thomas Matthews. Some of the Indians were killed in the raid, which began because of a dispute that Matthews hadn't paid for some items obtained from the tribe. The situation became critical when the colonists retaliated and attacked the wrong Indians, which caused large-scale Indian raids to begin. To bring the situation under control, Governor Berkeley set up what was to be a disastrous meeting between the two parties, which resulted in the murders of several tribal chiefs. Throughout the crisis, Berkeley pled for restraint from the colonists. Some, including Nathaniel Bacon, refused to listen. Bacon disregarded the governor's direct orders by seizing some friendly Indians. Berkeley reprimanded him, which caused the Virginians to wonder which man had taken the right action. Berkeley attempted to find a compromise. His policy was to preserve the friendship and loyalty of the Indians while assuring the settlers that they were not hostile. To meet his first objective, the governor relieved the local Indians of their powder and ammunition. To deal with the second objective, Berkeley called the Long Assembly in March of 1676. Despite being judged corrupt, the Assembly declared war on all bad Indians and set up a strong defensive zone around Virginia. The Long Assembly was accused of corruption because of its ruling regarding trade with the Indians. Most of the favored traders were friends of Berkeley. A government commission was established to monitor trading among those specially chosen and to make sure the Indians were not receiving any arms or ammunition. Bacon, one of the traders adversely affected by the governor's orders, accused Berkeley publicly of playing favorites. After Bacon drove some nearby Indians off their land, Berkeley rode to Bacon's headquarters at Henrico with 300 men. Upon Berkeley's arrival, Bacon fled into the forest with 200 men in search of a place more to his liking for a meeting. Berkeley then issued 2 petitions declaring Bacon a rebel and pardoning Bacon's men if they went home peacefully. Bacon was then relieved of his council seat, but he was to be given a fair trial for his disobedience. Bacon did not comply with the governor's orders. Instead, he attacked a camp of friendly Indians on the Roanoke River, and then took their store of beaver pelts. Berkeley was willing to forget that Bacon was not authorized to take the law into his own hands and agreed to pardon Bacon if he turned himself in. It was the House of Burgesses who refused this alternative, insisting that Bacon must acknowledge his errors and beg for the governor's forgiveness. Ironically, at the same time, Bacon was then elected to the Burgesses by supportive local landowners sympathetic to his Indian campaigns. Bacon, by virtue of this election, attended the landmark assembly of June 1676. It was during this session that he was mistakenly credited with the political reforms that came from this meeting. Bacon's only cause was his campaign against the Indians. When Bacon arrived at the June assembly, he was captured, taken before Berkeley and council, and had to apologize for his actions. Berkeley immediately pardoned Bacon and allowed him to take his seat in the assembly. At this time, the council still had no idea how much support was growing in defense of Bacon. The full awareness of that support hit home when Bacon suddenly left the Burgesses in the midst of a heated debate over Indian problems. He returned with his forces to surround the State House. Once again, Bacon demanded his commission. Berkeley granted Bacon's previous volunteer commission, but Bacon refused it and demanded that he be made general of all forces against the Indians, which Berkeley refused. Tensions ran high as the screaming Bacon and his men surrounded the State House, threatening to shoot several Burgesses if Bacon was not given his commission. Finally, after several antagonizing moments, Berkeley gave in to Bacon's demands. Even in the midst of these triumphs, Bacon was not without his mistakes. Shortly after the immediate crisis subsided, Berkeley briefly retired to his home. Bacon dominated Jamestown from July through September of 1676. During this time, Berkeley did not come out of his lethargy and attempt a coup, but support for Bacon was still too strong, and Berkeley was forced to flee. Bacon issued his Declaration of the People on July 30th, 1676, which stated that Berkeley was corrupt, played favorites, and protected the Indians for his own selfish reasons. Bacon also issued his oath, which required the person to promise his loyalty to Bacon in any manner necessary. Bacon's fleet was infiltrated by Berkeley's men and finally captured. This was the turning point in the conflict because Berkeley was once again strong enough to retake Jamestown. Bacon followed his sinking fortunes to Jamestown and saw it heavily fortified. He made several attempts at a siege which were unsuccessful. Infuriated, Bacon burned Jamestown to the ground on September 19, 1676. By now, his luck had run out, and he began to have trouble controlling his men, as well as keeping his popular support. Few people responded to Bacon's appeal to capture Berkeley, who had since returned to the eastern shore for safety reasons. On October 26, 1676, Bacon abruptly died. Shortly after Bacon's death, Berkeley regained complete control and hanged the major leaders of the rebellion and seized rebel property. All in all, 23 persons were hanged for their part in the rebellion. Later, after an investigating committee from England issued its report to King Charles II, Berkeley was relieved of the governorship and returned to England, where he died in July of 1677.